All right, we are live. I believe it's showing. Yes, we are. My name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton Sehan, and I'm very excited to be here with Swiftfire True TV today. And I'm very excited to have this special guest with us, who is a return guest, actually. James Redfield. He's an author and speaker, and really pivotal in the conscious creative humanity efforts to bring positivity to the world. And I don't know if you guys have read his books. He's got several books that have been amazing tools to help people. And before we get started, I'm going to let him give a little background about him in case you haven't been familiar with his work, but also want to remind everybody, please get on the newsletter. There's been so much going on and in the world right now, and the best way to make sure that you're informed on things that maybe we can't talk about on some of these platforms, you can go to swiftfire.org, get on the newsletter, see some of the resources there that may not be in some of these platforms, grab some tools there and get some help. So swiftfire.org. So James, I read your book a few decades ago, the very first one anyway, Celestine Prophecy. And then I also watched the movie a few times because it was actually turned into a movie. But tell us a little bit about your journey, how you got started in all this, and what became, your ministry and service to the world.
Well, thank you. Again, nice to be with you. I'm getting a little bit of feedback. Let's see.
Let me turn off. I'll get out of Facebook here, and sometimes that'll give a little feedback.
Okay. Yeah, that's better. So again, thank you for having me on. Obviously, it's a wild world out there, and I always come back to consciousness, and many people have different views of what consciousness is. I really think that all consciousness is spiritual consciousness. So if you hear people just out there talking about consciousness, whether everyone is on the same page about that or not is in question a little bit. But if you're for the humanity of planet Earth, if you want to remember that we're all sovereign beings and we want to help the world evolve positively and shake off all this confusion that's out there, then it's, I believe, a spiritual consciousness that we're talking about. Because spiritual consciousness, it gives us our intuitive guidance. It gives us these great synchronicities. And, that was my first book. The Celestine Prophecy was really focused on the spiritual consciousness and how we get help in life. We're at a very materialistic scientific age right now. So the Celestine Prophecy was really my attempt to talk about the real benefits of seeking a kind of spiritual connection. And I'm not talking about religion, but a personal spiritual connection that is the consciousness, and all the good things that come with that. So it was a series of 9 insights that book covers, really in terms of how to become conscious of what is happening in the world around you, to center in your own journey, to see these mysterious coincidences that Carl Jung, famous psychologist, called synchronicity, unfold in your life. So this is a real phenomenon, and it's something that was embraced broadly by the public. It's on the New York Times bestseller list for 3 years. So that's how widespread it was. It was in 30 countries, and I say that just to tell you that a whole generation, and still thousands of people new readers are embracing this idea of spiritual consciousness. So if you've never heard about that before, then or you think it's some sort of religious complex thing that you don't wouldn't benefit from, it might be a good idea to tune into that. Now, that was my first book, 9 Insights. I wrote 4 other novels, and these are novels with fun adventure stories, really. But my feeling was that there are a total of 12 of these. You call them insights, you call them realizations. Uh, in my new book, that I'll talk about, I call them alignments. Because getting into alignment with how the world is really designed to move on the spiritual journey. So all that can be true to oneself. That was my main argument through all the books. I really enjoyed really being able. I started off as a psychotherapist for years. I really thought there was in the closed out the in the last millennium started, in the 2000s. I really thought there was a new spiritual awakening. I still think that. I think there are elements in the world that would like to stop this spiritual awakening that's happening. So that's causing probably most of the confusion and anxieties out there, because you've got so many voices telling you that you have to be clamped down. You have to. You're not able to, as previous generations were, be able to talk to your fellow humans and interact and be free to create what you want to create out in the world. So it's a weird time, but it doesn't stop us from all the benefits of a spiritual consciousness, including getting rid of all these what I call problem emotions. And it begins with anxiety, life anxiety, worries over medical information that you wonder where it's coming from. So there's a lot of confusion, but pursuing a spiritual consciousness, I think, is the solution to all of this. So that's what I've been up to.
Yes, and what I love about your book is, just the way you write in pictures. So I'm a very visual person, and which is why I like to actually read real books and write under them and circle and highlight. But visually, how you your creative process and just how you write is very poetic, and it's, for me, I see it. And then when you made the movie, it was even more seen, because especially in reference to the biofield and energy. For me, that was I had an encounter very young, and at times see people's fields. And when I saw your movie, I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what happens, and it's a little subtly different, but the same concept of just how the signature code will project, and then also depending on what you're feeling, if there's motives, what you're talking about, and it really matters who you're hanging out with too. And this is all transferable in the field. But on a quantum level, it's transferable too. Like even what we're doing right now, this can ignite, beautiful things in people sitting wherever they are on their phones watching, or on their television, or wherever. And, explain a little bit about the quantum process, even of just doing this, not being time or space, but being able to help people even remote, if we are in a remote situation.
Well, it's an amazing. Once you tune into a spiritual consciousness, you realize that we're spirits on this planet, in a real sense. We're cloaked in what everybody calls a material body, but what the truth of it is that we have all these abilities, and my latest message is all of these abilities can be amplified once
Yes.
we realize how to get into alignment with the true design of this universe, but especially on this planet, how this life is designed to work. Because there are adjustments we have to make with lifestyle and attitude, and opening, how to open up, move past the ego to open up to this kind of journey that we're led through in life, and that we're given a kind of love base. I call it agape based emotional solidity, a kind of protection, a kind of way to move past all the problem emotions that most people, especially now, or feel like they're being held back by. So I believe that for the first time, really ever, all the information is coming together out there to really understand how these alignments work. So, in other words, how we could adjust our lifestyle and our attitude to become engaged in a life flow where we are guided through our intuitive intelligence to move through and gradually become aware of what we're supposed to do in the world that would give us the greatest inspiration. So, in other words, we're all here on a mission that we're struggling to become aware of, and that's the real high in life. And as my present book, I hope, conveys, it's where our protection comes from, our sense of being protected on this journey, no matter what is happening in this so-called material realm.
Yes, and you mentioned, we're talking about the field and that protection. I look at it kind of like frequency hopping. When we can tune in to the God source or my God source energy, and that is what's projecting into the field, then that does cloak us in a way, and or give us a return of what is coming to us because of that magnetic quality that the field has. And people can say that it's woo woo, or it doesn't follow their religion, or all the things that people could be like, whatever. Science is science, and you don't have to study gravity to know that it works. Gravity is going to work whether you believe in it or not. It's like jump off a cliff and find out. But so I like that we have an opportunity to really study the technology of who we are and kind of look into it and see how it can work for us, to create our best outcome and success in our own lives, which gives a collective boost to everybody, as we do our inside work, instead of just kind of defaulting, by accident and getting whatever we get and thinking that life happens to us, instead of being mindful and realizing there is this radiance that we have, and there is this magnetic quality that we have, and we are doing it all the time, minute to minute to minute, whether we're conscious of it or not. And why not create something really amazing instead of just default accidental creations that may not be your highest, and in that situation. And so I love how your work has awakened people to their abilities and their creative power, and just to help go back and remember, because external things are just a result of us as a collective. And what, all of this stuff couldn't be out there unless there was something in us that was creating that, or allowing that, I should say. And sovereignty and standing up for freedom and rights, and just those abilities, that's where love comes in. And love looks like a lot of different things. And sometimes love is standing up, And, some people would think like, oh, we better not say anything. Let's just be compliant. And I don't want to get into anything that would get us off the channel, but, go back and look at some of the great leaders who stood up to what was actually right and what was the loving right way that would protect humanity. And you could see that there's been people who've been doing this for years. And speak a little bit about that.
Well, the problem is that, most people are motivated to do the right thing for themselves, their families. But right now, we have so many conflicting truths being told out there. And it's sort of, it's a kind of battle for the most truthful information that's going on, because they're just all these troubling realities, and if you just look at the health issues that are out there, and what some people think we should all do about it, and other people think that those things are not healthy to do in a real sense, and that there's a lot of skepticism out there. So we're kind of talking in code, but it's what each of us has to do, in my view, in this kind of world, is to find sources that smack true. In other words, your intuitive intelligence has a radar to tell you what is true and what is a game somebody is playing for money. And control. And, that is the main thing. Everybody has to find that little radar about who's being truthful and who is trying to make money or try to gain power, or who wants to just be left to be a democratic, a free person in the world, and come up with those sources of information that makes that journey for yourself possible. In other words, there are a lot of there's a lot of people out there who want us to join in on essentially the profit making of what are multi-level, multinational corporations that have medicine techniques for sale, and only the public has had the taxpayer is funding this huge all these things for sale. But and once you look at whether we can we know what's in this medicine, or this can we look into how it was made? Can we? And if you find out that no one knows, no one in an official capacity in government, for instance, or no one in the media knows exactly what's in this information that these big multinational corporations have been proved to lied in countless times in history, are really asking us to just take their word for what's in these in this medicine, and that should strike an alarm, right? Because it's easy to look at both sides and see who's telling the truth about safety factors, for instance, or side effects. And when you see all that's being repressed, then it makes you think your truth radar will say that, hey, I got to look into this more, and that's all I'm advocating. Look into all these sources instead of just saying, well, people are saying it's the best thing to do. Because people really who are saying that are members of 6 huge multinational corporations who deliver the news now. It used to be 21, competing for the truth that we hear on our networks. And now it's down to 6 controlling the whole world. So, I mean, again, I'm just for truth. And so is your dog. But it should make everybody think. And the thinkers are raising questions. And there's plenty of debate out there that's not being repressed to give you information about all that. But I want to go back to the real remedy for the fear all this conversation creates, and that is a spiritual consciousness that we affirm and live out every day. And it might be good to just look at, and I'm now calling these alignments. Okay, get into alignment with how the spiritual world on this planet and in the universe works. And we know that the beginning awakening, in my view, to this non-materialistic idea of the consciousness that you can tune into is synchronicity. And that's the perception of mysterious coincidences that help us in life. And to me, that's the first alignment. If you're just trying to figure it out all with your mind, or you going to other people and all these advisors who you think might have, you find out may be trying to sell something, if that's what you're running into, it has to be a personal perception. You think of something you want to do in your life, or you think of maybe a solution to a problem you have, and all of a sudden a mysterious coincidence happens. And in that conversation, or in that thing that you just discovered to read on the internet or something, that's a mysterious coincidence. If you suddenly say, "Hey, wow, that's the answer to," and what happens is you get this huge hit of what I call inspiration energy.
Yes.
So that's a measure as well as, oh, this is a direction I should take. I should really look into this. I mean, you also always have to do your own kind of background research in anything you embrace, but that might be a solution to your problem. And if that happens, and it's been talked about all through history by every religion, these synchronicities, these sort of hands of the divine in your life that happen. If that help comes, then the materialistic world that people want you to believe in it's still real from a point of view, but the spiritual world that also is here, that you can embrace, then that's real. Spirituality is real if these mysterious coincidences give us help in life. And anybody can prove that they do, because you just gotta have to, the whole world works on the principle of seek and you shall find. It's in every religious scripture or testimony. So all you have to do is, well, what are you seeking? Know what your questions in life are. If you've got a problem, you can't find a job, if you've got a problem of any kind, you just hold that in your mind with this idea that a mysterious coincidence is going to happen to solve that problem, to give you a way to pursue a solution. And again, all you have to do is seek, and you'll find. So what we're doing, and I like to go back to history, because what we're doing, I mean, is that we're just rediscovering a kind of spiritual universe that we really live in, and that we are learning to get into alignment with. And really, so the human race has always done it naturally. We went through a scientific materialism for 4 centuries in order to see all the phenomena of the world. But now what happened was that we got stuck in a total materialistic idea of life. And life is a spiritual journey. And one, again, can prove that to oneself. And it includes this protection. that we can feel, and that's what's, I think, it's very important for people to realize at this moment.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love what you're saying. It's very, very helpful. I had written down something about, you keep using the word information, and it looks like Mark picked that up too. But, information is, key, and what we're taking in and what we're looking at and what we're putting our gates on, whether it's, who we're hanging out with, what we're listening to, the frequencies of television, whose vision is it? It is called programming for a reason. You mentioned only 6 people are administrating and manipulating that right now, or controlling that. And so being real mindful of what we're participating in, what we're engaging in, is really helpful in the discernment process. But don't you think that some of this polarization can be used for our benefit too, because they're like, it's sort of overplaying their hand, and maybe some people who are in a lull, or really not even realizing any of this stuff was going on, or all of a sudden going, wait a minute, what? And it's kind of, you know what I mean? Have you seen some people with that wake up of just like looking at things differently?
Well, whenever your freedom, and let's face it, that's exactly what's being taken away from us. Whenever that freedom to act and to move around and to be with, especially interactions with people, that's shocking. That's shocking. And there's a kind of guilt trip if you feel shock about it. In other words, there's this programming out there that says, "Oh, well, you don't care about other people if you don't clamp down." Well, that's a guilt trip, and that doesn't sit well with the majority of people. That might be something that can be on television, but we have to feel free to feel alive. And the clampdowns, is very, very clear that 5 times as many people have died from the clampdowns in terms of drug use and depression, and all that has happened because of people losing their businesses. That is the cruel reality of what the clampdowns have produced, because we're really dealing with something medically that is very, very seldom really fatal. And if you start to look at it from that point of view, the costs of what's been done by this huge kind of takeover economically, it's something to think about, and everybody has to look at it closely, I believe, from that point of view before they support draconian measures about something that is not that deadly. So anyway, that's you can't even talk. I can't talk at all without saying at least that.
I know.
And that's what. But I'm just calling for people to wake up from the delusion that what's on television is the truth, and go find the real truth about everything out there yourself.
And we have this amazing technology to detect what's true and what isn't. And of course, they have different programs where I've been reading stats on, brainwashing and what have you, where they can bombard you with fear for less than 60 days. And then you start to question, like, what's really true. And even given the actual truth, aren't able to decipher or discern it anymore because of, the vibration of fear, messing with the integration of truth. But, you keep mentioning alignment, and I love that. How do we, number one, detect truth or get clarity on our DNA to get that signal back up and activated to be able to detect? And also, how do we get into alignment and or stay in alignment? What are some things that you've done?
Well, it's not doing anything. It's opening up to something. And the opening you get is intuitive intelligence, and there, these alignments that I think we all have to adjust to if we really want to have a miracle oriented life. It begins with knowing that our questions are answered, uh, and and then it goes to something that's important in that uh, we have to get into alignment with the karmic reality of this spiritual universe we're in. And so there is karma, and karma meaning, uh, if you do the wrong thing, corrective measures hit you in the face until you wake up. And what usually, but the opposite is true. If you're in the right mental orientation, especially toward people, what happens is that you all of a sudden you are have these more miracles come in, and it's always synchronicities, right? This meaningful coincidence happens and opens doors for you in life, and solves problems. Okay, so the more we can understand the karmic reality we're in, and I believe wholeheartedly that the key principle in the way this world works revolves around helping. Okay, so in other words, if we're helpers, what happens is, and we talk about that in synchronicity because we give synchronicities to other people who are looking for answers, right? That's what we can do because things will come intuitively. It would work this way. So if we give as much as we take, whether it's information or energy or whatever it might be, we seek to give to others and help them. What happens is that we draw people into our lives that come in to help us, all right, answer our questions. I have synchronicities that change our lives and send it in another direction. So the whole design of the human race being on this planet is to move into this alignment. Because if you're a taker, in other words, if you try to steal energy by dominating people, or if you are telling people something that might benefit you monetarily, but it's not so good for them, or if you're taking advantage of people in any way, or if you're misleading them in any way, you're taking from them. And you're not giving, you're taking. And what happens when we take? And most of the world still suffers from this because they don't believe in karma. They take, you draw more takers into your own life. And I always tell this story, I used to, it's part of, being accredited as a psychotherapist. I was able to, I did a kind of, time in a prison working with various types who were in prison, and I had this group of people who were thieves for a living, professional thieves, right? And and they said, and when I talked to them, I thought it was really enlightening. I said, "Well, why do you steal?" And they would say, "Well, I steal because people steal from me all the time." And I thought, and then I would say, "Well, look, I don't steal, and I never have anybody steal from me." So, in that sort of laboratory discussion, I was able to say, "Well, wow, this is just proof." I mean, the people steal because they think everybody steals.
Wow.
From them, but in actuality, people steal from them because they steal in the first place. So it's the karmic design. Anybody can prove it to themselves. But what we have to do then is become aware of when we say, when we dominate or manipulate or lie to people in our ordinary lives, because it does reduce the little miracles of helping that come to us. So, in my view, the human race is just awakening to this now. In a lot of ways, people have proved it to themselves already. But I think that what's coming out now is that we're breaking out of this materialism, where, of course, karma doesn't exist because we live in this material world. But we're realizing that, hey, it's a spiritual world we really live in. Mm-hmm. And this is an alignment. You have to get your karmic life together if you expect to have all this breakthrough life where you doors are opening everywhere for you. You find what you really want to do in life, and that's successful no matter what else anybody's doing in the world. We're kind of on a journey that where we're taken care of, just like the scriptures say. But we have to get into alignment spiritually. And it's, all these truths have been out there, but to me, now, as we break out of this materialism, we're realizing the spiritual principles that really are at work in human reality.
Yeah, and there's a science to all this. I mean, it's, again, going back to the law of attraction. It's going to work just like gravity, and if we can learn how to, or remember how to use it for our benefit to create something better, then that's going to be good for not only us and our family and our health and everyone around us, but, eventually affects the whole world, because we are one. I talk about, I have a chapter in the Science of Miracles book that talks about the science of giving and the science of judgment and the science of forgiveness and all the different things that intention, or what you set things for. The word intend means to do inward tend to something. And the more that we're doing that inner work, and setting those intentions, having the right motives, having a pure, loving heart to actually see the best in others and want, the best for everybody. But it does start with us. And I love, I didn't know that you had done that work in prison. That's very eye-opening to even, that makes sense. But, they didn't even realize they were basically chasing their tail, and I think a lot of us are stuck in those patterns sometimes, like trauma loops of whether it's giving or taking or lying or, whatever. And, sometimes it takes a wake up to kind of wake up, to see, this is what's going on. This is what's happening. And I think this polarization hopefully is a vehicle that they didn't anticipate to be a red pill for our times, and, helping people to remember the wake up. How much do you think who you hang out with matters? Because I know in your movie, you really show like how if someone had bad motives and they would be standing next to someone who was just normal or not aware of bad motives, how you could see that they were taking from the field like a vampire, an energetic vampire. And they've proven this with plants and people. We have cameras that can show how people even energetically take, it doesn't have to be, I took this from your house, but even energetically, through the phone, through social media, through wherever. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, the greatest karmic boost we could have is to just give energy to people all the time. And that's very easy to do. You just visualize a flow of energy from yourself into the other person, and you seek to see, a larger spiritual connection in the face of the other person. I mean, it always works, and it's a way to always be uplifting people. You may go into a habit of thought, and you don't like people that act like that, or or you may have all kinds of judgments that pop up, but those can just be dismissed. We all have things like that, negatives about people that irk us, or people's attitudes. But once you're giving energy, then that's the best thing you can do, because you're really uplifting the other person in the scriptural manner, and you're looking for their own God energy connection to happen in their life. You're looking for it on their face, and somebody will pop in. Some people will pop into it right in front of you when you do that, and for the first time sometimes. But you see that. But see, we're trained in the material world to be defensive since kids. So we're not giving energy at all. We're defending ourselves, and nobody better say anything about me or diss me, or I'll come back at them. That's an energy battle that humans have been stuck in. It's the reason for all violence in the world. It's the reason for all wars in the world. It's that battle for energy, thinking you don't have enough. Because when people put you down, you feel put down, right? That means your energy collapses. But if you're the way to be invulnerable to that, to never be insulted, to laugh at insults and just send energy to people, they'll move into another kind of real way of relating, and that was one where both people are giving energy, and it kind of mushrooms into this height of in energy in the conversation, which can then be open to all these other intuitive intelligence that comes out, and presto, you've got a synchronicity that somebody's given you, or you've given another person a synchronicity. So it's that's the habit the human race has got to find. That's the adaptation to the way the world is designed, so that we can take advantage of all this high energy and all that comes with it.
I love that. That is really, really good. One thing that came to mind when you're talking about this too is just like expectation, not necessarily just of what other people are doing and their behavior or what have you, but also expectation of a path, maybe necessary. Like, let's say you get up and you make your list of the things that you think you're going to do, but then something happens, something breaks, you get a call, some other thing throws you off, what you expected, how your rigid day was going to go. And when we are open to the flexibility of, okay, well, my energy must have put something out there for this to happen, and what's the lesson behind it? And, why are we going this direction? Maybe I'll meet a certain person, or, be able to speak into somebody's life along the way, or just having that mentality of everything works out for me, that this is all for me. And talk a little bit about that. And by the way, guys who are on here, please do your due diligence and share this. So you never know who can be really requiring this right now in this season. This can be really helpful to a lot of people. So I hope that you'll share. But speaking to that kind of like, surprises, because I can look back at one time, I think I was like, just got my driver's license, and I was going to a friend's house, and I got stuck at a train, and I was like so upset and frustrated because of my military OCD, be on time, check in, and freaking out about being late. And it was the first time I'd been to these people's house, and just a young kid. And I had to get gas. So I was about to run out of gas to even get to this place. But when the train finally was over, and I was like, oh my God, this took forever. I got to the gas station that was closest where I was going to go before, and there had just been a robbery and a shooting, and somebody was killed, and there were ambulances everywhere. And I literally was like, whoa, if I was here 15 minutes earlier, and how, so my energy was protecting me and creating that resistance to not be in the wrong place at the wrong time. But in my immaturity, I had taken the perspective of, this is terrible, this always happens, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? And so speak a little bit about those kind of synchronicities as well.
Well, you, I'm hearing myself. Yeah. Is that happening with you?
I don't hear an echo.
Okay.
Are you okay?
Now it's gone.
Okay.
That's interesting. I won't take that as a negative. That's probably synchronicity of some kind. What you have to do is find the silver lining in every synchronicity. So if things that people are pulling out in front of you, and so that you can't get to somewhere on time, again, that might be in actuality a blessing in disguise. So the way to keep synchronicity going is that you always find a positive way to interpret this so-called negative happening or delay or something that you wanted that you don't get at this time.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You have got to keep your energy up and you're giving up. And if you go into depression or if you go into those self-criticisms and all the things we do, that just stops your flow. So the traffic didn't stop your flow, you stopped your flow. So we have to find always a positive interpretations, and sometimes it takes a lot, a while to do that. But it's something that really will help you stay in this flow that we're talking about. And one of the alignments is that we have to become aware of more. All right, so we're in this materialistic world. It's dog eat dog. We're fighting for our share of the pie. Reacting to these slights, whether they're intended or not, sometimes. And what we do is slow ourselves way down with that. So one of the alignments is to be. The design is we have plenty of intelligence, and as we go up in consciousness with this giving of energy, what happens is that we become able to become more self-aware of what's holding us back, of the negative emotions that are involved in our reactions to people and to slights and all those things we do. In the Celestine Prophecy, my first book, talks about controlled dramas that people are not aware of, that they get into, and it's the first bit of awareness. It's becoming self-aware when you take energy from others, whether it's a guilt trip, if you feel somebody's not doing something you wanted and you guilt trip them about not helping you. That person goes into self-doubt, and all this, and their energy gets lower because you get their attention, and so they're confused, and you feel better that way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's only temporary. I mean, it's only a kind of human energy boost you get. Nothing from this boost of giving spiritual connection. But self-awareness of how you take energy from people is a very, very important alignment. And that's what all this work is everybody's doing. What's lacking in all that therapy out there, in my opinion, though, is that there's not a spiritual connection to give you more energy to deal with this, to allow this self awareness. I also recommend the Enneagram. I think the Enneagram is this budding worldwide realization of self-awareness. that's happening. If you anybody can Google, Google the Enneagram, right? It's ENNEAGRAM, and you'll get the phone book now. I mean, you'll get, now they don't. In my new book, I talk about it in a different way, because the Enneagram really gives us our gift that clarifies our mission in life. But it also gives us our control drama tendencies, the way we misuse this gift. And it's an amazing symbol that's been developed over time. I mean, it's a psychotherapists have embraced this. It's really a symbol that the mystic Gurdjieff brought over from his sources. We'll just leave it at that. Introduced to the West for the first time in sometime around 1925.
Wow.
This is a recent gift to humanity, in my view, and it's taken it that long.
Wow.
The therapist grabbed hold of it. Finally, I believe a protege of Jung, Carl Jung, brought it to Esalen Institute in the 1950s. And there were, in this class at Esalen, there were about 15 people that went on to write books and embrace the Enneagram, and now it's all over the world. It's not fully, it's not comprehended fully yet, in my view. But I believe that once we realize that it shows us our gift, and also how we use our gift to steal energy from people. It's a real help for becoming more self-aware and moving past all that and getting a spiritual connection that then can make our lives miraculous.
Yeah, I think self-awareness is a big key, because if you don't know that you're taking, or that words that you use, and I don't mean like physically stealing, I'm talking about like just sending a text that's controlling or manipulative, or just subtle judgment. I think a lot of subtleties, especially with social media, where people will literally on purpose go to other people's pages and argue and debate, or just put something confrontational, and they can enjoy the quote drama, versus just like, what's wrong with, just, you don't like it, just scroll on. Like, why I don't know. It's interesting. But one last question, because I know you have things to do too. How do you keep it so it doesn't affect you personally? Like when there is someone who doesn't understand, or put something negative out there, whether it's social media or real life, or family members who may not understand. Because I know there's so many people who are in situations right now where there's just a lot of opposite views, or ways that people choose information, and there can be opportunities for negativity or things said, whether it's social media or real life and families. How do you keep sovereign and not letting it be personal, like a sponge sucking it in, versus a radiant sun just blasting love no matter what?
Well, you should blast love no matter what first, but you have to also have the truth as you know it. That's always viewed as tentative. You may that very conversation be convinced otherwise, that your truth is not all the whole truth, all of the truth, or a better truth. So we're just seeking truth, and we're all looking for evidence. And the key is to be able to look at the evidence for both sides and feel the energy of that, so that you're siding with more with the real truth and not a manipulation that's politically oriented or economically oriented or whatever. That way you can still accumulate your truth. And then in these conversations, you have to be given, if you give energy and agape love, and we haven't gotten to meditation yet, but this is how you stay in a connection of agape love that liberates everything, your self-awareness, but you have to hold that. It's a real thing. It's real love. Everybody's loved in some time in their life. And if that's not your basic emotion as you run around in life, then you're not seeking and finding and embracing that with enough intention, because that is our natural spirit for this spiritual world. Agape love is the emotion, is our master emotion. All the problem emotions hit that and bounce off. We can let them go and come back to agape love. So you're always trying to stay in that with people in your conversations. So what are you? You're polite, and you tell your truth as best you can in conversations, because if you don't tell the truth, that's bad karma, right? You're essentially leading the person astray. So packed with love, though, you have to say it how it comes to you for the other person, and then let it go. You don't have to argue. You don't have to win. That's stealing energy from the other person. You just offer it and then go on with the festivities of the family encounter. There's a lot of animosity that's coming from just fear and anxiety inside us, and this sense that something's being taken from us. Our divine right to freedom and interaction is being taken from us for false pretenses, or kind of takeover by big corporations that want you to that want the government to pay them for your vaccines that you are mandated to take. I mean, this is, just look into that. Does that seem real for you? The people that are talking about it just in manipulation, when you can't even find out what's in it, that scientists can't even find out what's in it. So anyway, it's something that truth will come out about it all at some point. But
hopefully sooner than later. I mean, truth is already out. It's just a matter of all the mainstream actually presenting it as truth instead of all the. Anyway, but you mentioned meditation. I know that you lead quite a few meditations, or you have in the past. I don't know what you currently do, but as we go here today, let us know anything you got coming up, how people can connect with you.
Well, our site is celestinevision.com, and you'll find out what we're doing there. I'll have a new book coming out in the fall or early spring, perhaps, but it'll be announced there for sure. And we have a learning group that's oriented toward classes in the Enneagram that help with self-awareness and finding your true inspiration in life. That's what the group is all about. But it's very conscious, and that's where you'll find information about it. So those are the big things. We have that community, and I'll have a new book out very soon.
Definitely looking forward to the new book. And I know I'm going to go back and revisit your first book and several of your others. And I encourage you guys to do that too. And also, please don't forget to share. Like I said, do your due diligence and make sure we can get this out, because like I said, a lot of people are in different positions emotionally right now, and they're looking for some kind of hope and truth. And when we can remember our authority and our own power, and that it isn't anything out here. It's all in here, and that we do have rights. I think this conversation would be helpful to a lot of people. So I thank you so much for being here with us today, and for bringing your information and your truth and your love, your agape love, and love to Sally and all you guys, what you're doing. And you guys send love to them and their family and their projects and their service. And hopefully you guys just take a few minutes and do that now. And I hope to see you guys again, and I hope to see you again, James. We'll have you back, and when your book comes out, how about, and we can talk about that.
Absolutely. And thank you for the interview, and blessings out there, everybody.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us. Please do share. Go to swiftfire.org and grab the newsletter and some resources there. And I will be back tonight, this evening, with another interview, and I hope to see you guys with us. I'll have Elena and Laura Eisenhower and Tony Rodriguez. We're going to have a big discussion about this kind of same thing, and would love to have you guys with us. So have a good day. And you guys stay light, stay pure, stay love. Talk soon.